Good afternoon, students. I am your commerce teachers. I hope you are all fine at homes. Today we are revising now about the long answer. That is, in morning sessions already we finished about 2 marks, 3 marks. Now we are going to see about the detailed answer, that is 5 mark questions. Second question. So in morning session itself we finished the first questions, that is hindrance of commerce. Now we are going to see about the second question. Briefly explain the coastal trade in Asian Tamil Nadu. Okay, so this is the second questions. In these questions we cover nearly 4 points. First point is related to the Bumbuhar, that is in big cities like Bumbuhar there are two towns are there. One is Marurupakam and the second one is about Patinapakam. Then they said about the big bazaars and port towns, as well as how it is helped the coastal region people and what are the activities involved by coastal region people during that time. Okay, so the question is about what are the division, the second question here. We are going to see the second question. Briefly explain the coastal trade in Asian Tamil Nadu. So coastal trade in Asian Tamil Nadu, South Coromandel coast within the territory of Tamil Nadu state. It is the seaside town which was one of the second capital of Chola dynasty. That is, it is the second capital of Chola dynasty. Here, internal trade with both eastern and western people had carried out during that time. Then, big cities like Bumbuhar had two towns. One is Marurupakam and another one is about Patinapakam. The Marurupakam is called as inland town, whereas Patinapakam is used for coastal town. Okay. The town had market and bazaar. In these towns, they are having many markets as well as bazaars, where many merchants met one another for the purpose of selling their different kinds of commodities and foodstuffs. That is, they are selling as well as buying different kinds of commodities and foodstuffs. Next, we are going to see about the port town. Here, the port town is Tondi, Kurkai, Pugar, Missouri were always seen busy. So these port towns are busy with marts and markets with the activities related to import and export. That is, here import as well as export is carried out. Okay, so using this port in olden days, the Cholas dynasties carried out the import as well as the export activities. Next, we are going to see about the coastal region. The people in the coastal region were engaged in different kinds of fishing, fuel, and produce salt and build ship, boat like Wadagu, Timil, Thoni, Ambu was built by during that time. It was used for the crossing the river and ocean for domestic trade and foreign trade. In order to carry out these domestic as well as foreign trade, they build some ships like Timil, Thoni and Ambu. Okay, so these are the 4 points related to this topic. Briefly explain the coastal trade in Asian Tamil Nadu. Okay, so next we are going to see about the third questions. Explain the development of commerce and trade in North India. That is, how trade is flourished in North India during 12th to 16th century. Okay, so India was prosperous even during the medieval period. That is, here medieval period is called as 12th to 16th century, despite of political upheavals. Balban, during this period, Balban was the first sultan who paved the way in the dense forest and helped the trader to move from one market to another. Okay, here the traders are cross the forest in order to go to the market. Okay, during that time, Balban helped that for traders by paved a way in the dense forest. Then next they said about the Alauddin Khilji, who is encouraging the import of foreign goods. That is, during that time itself, India imports many foreign goods it is encouraged by Alauddin Khilji. Next, Arab were dominant players in India's foreign trade, encouraged Indian traders like Tamilis and Gujaratis. Like Tamilis and Gujaratis are engaged in foreign trade during that times with Arab people. During the Sultanate period, trade flourished due to establishment of currency system. That is, they are using currency system made up of silver and copper. So India handicraft commanded a good foreign market. So Indian handicraft product have good foreign market during that time. So India's imported something, that is some objects like dry fruits, horses, precious stones, glassware, high grade textiles and raw silks, corals and scented oil, velvets, etc. So from Kabul, Arabia, Europe, West Asia and China. These are the products imported by India. Indian products also exported to some countries like East Africa, Malaya, China and Far East. The traders of Malabar, Gujarat and foreign settlers in the ports of Calicut, Gumpat and Mangalore controlled a major business sector in port cities. So these are the points relating to the questions. Explain the development of commerce and trade in North India. Here they said about in 12th to 16th century is considered to be a medieval period. During this period, trade is flourished. That is, they are imported goods, some goods, as well as India exported some goods to the other countries. Here, Balban is a person who is paid the weight in the dense forest to help the traders. Alauddin Khilji, he encouraged import foreign goods, and Arab helped the Indians for foreign trade activities. During Sultan trade period, the currency system like using of silver and copper is flourished. India handicraft products have much demanded product during that time, and India imported horses, dry fruits, all those things. Indian products were exported to East Africa, Malaya, China and Far East. As well as they said about the port like Calicut, Gumpat and Mangalore port are used by the traders of Malabar and Gujarat. Okay. Next we are going to see about what you know about the overseas trading patterns of Asian Tamil Nadu. Okay. So how the trading pattern is carried out in Asian Tamil Nadu. Here they said about three peoples, the important three Tamil kings like Pandya, Chola and Chera dynasties. How they helped the trade relation with many countries like China's, and in their period, that is from 16th to 18th century. It is a period related to 16th to the 18th century. Here they said about Vasco da Gama, who is a person who discovered Cape of Good Hope. So all those things are said in these questions. Okay. So what do you know about the overseas trading partners of Asian Tamil Nadu? Here Roman and Greek forged trade relationship with the Asian kings of Pandya, Chola and Chera dynasty. Chola had a strong trading relationship with the Chinese and secured a sea trading route to China. During the 16th and 18th century, India overseas trade expanded European countries. That is, during that time, our trade is expanded to European countries. The European merchants who came to India were not only the individual, that is, they are not coming as an individual, but they are coming as a representative of the government. That is, on behalf of the government, they are purchasing some goods to their countries. So they gain a strong foothold in India's maritime trade. Next they said about Vasco da Gama, the discovery of new all sea routes from Europe to India via Cape of Good Hope by Vasco da Gama. And in 17th and 18th century, East India Company, which became the British Empire in textile and shipbuilding and fame. And Britishers gradually abolished princely order in the Indian territories. Thus, the demand for Indian goods declined during the British rule. So, between early 1600 and mid of 19th century, the British East India Company led establishment and expansion of foreign trade all over the Asia. So these are the points relating to the questions. Why do you know about overseas trading patterns of Asian Tamil Nadu, partners of Asian Tamil Nadu? So they said about Chera, Chola and Pandyas, as well as their sea route. That is, they use the Cape of Good Hope in order to cross the sea route from Europe to India. And they said that Britishers abolished the princely orders. So our product, that is demand for our Indian product, is declined during the British period. Then they said that in 16th to 19th century, British East India Company led establishment and expansion of foreign trade all over Asia. Next we are going to see about state the constraints and limitation in barter systems. Okay, here already in short answer we see about what is the meaning of barter system. Barter system is nothing but exchange of goods for goods before the invention of money. Okay, that is money is medium of, here nowadays we are using money as a medium of exchange, but during that time there is no medium of exchange, therefore they used the goods as the medium of exchange for other goods. So here they said about what is the meaning of barter system, and also about the limitations. So the limitation, it has many meanings. That is, limitation is nothing but disadvantages. Sometimes we say it as constraints in barter systems. Okay, so all are one and the same. But a question is asked like this, or mention the constraints in barter system, or explain about these things. Okay. In this we come across 4 constraints. One is lack of double coincidence of wants. The next one is non-existence of common measures of value. Third one, lack of direct contact between the producer and the consumer. And fourth one is about lack of surplus stocks. So among these 4 constraints, they explain in detail. Okay, here in each and every detailed answer you have to mention the side headings. Okay, so side headings carries nearly 2 marks. Sometimes it may give 1 marks to you. Okay, so you must memorize the side headings first, then you explain it. Okay, so you start your question like this. First write the side headings one by one after writing the meaning of that question, then explain it by one by one. Okay, so then only it takes nearly 1.5 pages. You are scoring marks very well. Okay, the first question is that is the 5th question is about the constraints of barter system. First we are going to see about the meaning of barter system. The barter system envisages mutual exchange of one goods to other without the invention of money as a medium of exchange. Here they set some points relating to it. Imposes certain constraints explained below. The first one is about lack of double coincidence of wants. So lack of double coincidence wants means there is no double coincidence of wants. Because of that, it has some limitation, that is, unless 2 persons who have surplus have the demand for the goods possessed by each other, barter would not materialize. That is, if both the person having surplus stock, then only they can exchange. Okay, if you are having anything extra, then only you give it to your friends. Likewise, in barter system also, if both the person having some extra goods, then only they exchange their goods. Then otherwise it is not possible to exchange their goods. So if this coincidence of wants does not exist, barters cannot take place. That is the first point relating to lack of double coincidence of wants. That is, if you having something extra, then only you are giving to your friends or your relatives. Likewise here also, if both the person, that is the buyer as well as the sellers, have something extra, something surplus, here extra is mentioned as surplus, then only they exchange their goods. Okay, otherwise barter system cannot take place. The next question, next side headings is related to non-existence of common measures of value. So barter system could not determine the value of the commodities to be exchanged. For example, if you are exchanging the 2 kgs of rice, you know nowadays what is the price of the 1 kg, okay, rice. But during that time there is no medium of exchange like money, so the value of the commodities to be exchanged could not be determined in barter systems. Okay, this is one of the limitations of barter system. It was difficult to compare the values of all articles in the absence of acceptable medium of exchange. Nowadays we are using money as an acceptable medium of exchange. If you want anything, you may give money, you may purchase the things, okay, but during that time there is no medium of exchange. Therefore it is not possible to value the commodities to be exchanged. Okay, this is non-existence of common measures of value. Then next it is about lack of direct contact between the producer and the consumer. Here that they said about the direct contact. If you want to purchase one pen, means you are going to a nearby shop and you are getting the pen from this retailer. So you are a direct contact between the retailer and the consumer. Okay, so here there is, if lack of direct contact, if there is no contact like that, means it is impossible to take place barter systems. But nowadays we are purchasing all those things, many things through online. Okay, so in case of online, we are not seeing the producer face, the producer are not seeing the consumer face, but it is not possible during that time. Therefore lack of direct contact between the producer and the consumer is one of the limitations of barter system. It was not possible for the buyers and the seller to meet the face to face in many contexts for exchanging the commodities for commodities. This hinders the process of barter in all practical sense. The next is about lack of surplus stock. So absence of surplus stock was one of the impediments in barter system. That is, if they are not having surplus, then how is it possible to exchange the goods? It is not possible. Therefore lack of surplus stock is one of the limitations of barter system. If the buyers and seller do not have surplus, there is no barter was possible. Okay, so these are the points relating to the limitations in barter system. That is, constraints in barter system. The barter system envisages mutual exchange of goods to other without the invention of medium of exchange as money. Then they said about four limitations of barter system: lack of double coincidence of wants, non-existence of common measures of value, lack of direct contact between the producer and the consumer, lack of surplus of stock. So these are the 5 points relating to those things. Okay, so next we are going to see about additional question. Before we are going to see about the additional question. Once again I repeat the revision from second questions. Okay, so the second question is about briefly explain the coastal trade in ancient Tamil Nadu. Here they said about the big cities like Marur Pakam, that is it is an inland town, and Patinapakam is a coastal town, and in this town many market and bazaars are there. There the merchants are met with one another for the purpose of selling or buying different commodities and foodstuffs. And they said about the port towns like Tondi, Kurke and Puhar and Musiri, where many merchants met and purchasing the goods from the marts and markets. Then the people in the coastal region was engaged in different kinds of fishing, piers, and produce salt and build ship, boat like Odagu, Timil and Thoni Ambu, all are produced. Okay. The next is about explain the development of commerce and trade in North India in 12th to 16th century. India was prosperous even during this period in trade. Balban was the person who paved the way in the dense forest and helped the traders, and Alauddin Khilji encouraged the import of foreign goods, and Arab were dominant players in India foreign trade, encouraged the Indians like Tamilis and Gujarat. During the Sultanate period, trade flourished due to establishment of currency. That is, currency is introduced during Sultan period. They are using currency made up of silver and copper. India handicraft commanded a good foreign market during that time. India imported horses, dry fruits, precious stones, all those things. Then India's produce were exported to East Africa, Malaya and China. The traders of Malabar, Gujarat and foreign settlers in the ports of Calicut, Mumbai and Mangalore controlled a major business sector in port cities. The next question is about the fourth question. What do you know about the overseas trading partners of Asian Tamils? So they said about Chera, Chola and Pandyas. Chola is a strong trading relationship with China. During the 16th and 18th century, overseas trade explained in European countries. The European merchants who came to India were not only individual as well as they are coming as a representative of the government. So the discovery of new sea route by the Vasco da Gama, that is Cape of Good Hope, helped the Indian traders to come from Europe to India. Then they said in 17th and 18th century, East India Company which became the British Empire in textiles and shipbuilding. Britishers gradually abolished princely order, therefore the demand for the Indian goods declined. Next we are going to see about the state of constraints, that is constraints in barter system, lack of double coincidence of wants, non-existence of common measures, lack of direct contact between the producer and the consumer, lack of surplus stock. Next we are going to see about the additional question. What are the ports developed during the Sangam period? Many such ports were developed during Sangam periods are Kavaripumbattinam was the chief port of Kingdom of Cholas, while Nagapattinam, Marakkanam, Arikamedu, etc. are other small ports of east coast. Similarly, Pandyas developed Korkai, Saliyur, Kayal, Maranganur Patnam and Kumari for foreign trade. Then describe the trade route built during Sangam period. During the Sangam period, the main trade routes were passing through the thick forest over Western Ghats. Main roads known as Peruvali were built for the purpose of surface transportation. So, we finished our revisions. Students, go through all the questions and write it in your school note. Okay, not only write, you must memorize all the questions after understanding it in order to score more marks in your monthly test. Okay, thank you students.